I was right. I was right. I was right. I was right. So, this is my Mandalorian season 3 episode. What is this now? 5, 6? Let's see. Episode 6. So, it starts off with this ship, and the captain just free floating in a tube of water. Just bizarre, especially considering she lowered the water so she could talk to what turned out to be axe wolves. Now, that just struck me as odd because it's one thing if, okay, she needs to be in water to live and to be fed and all that, but then in order to speak, they removed that whole thing. So that was odd, but so it turns out that axe wolves and the rest of the night owls went are mercenaries now and have been contracted to bring this calamari captain, I guess, sons back, a royal family. And the son didn't want to go, that he's in love with the captain of this ship. And you could tell that on a human level, Axe was not thrilled about what he was doing, but, a job's a job. I honestly thought there was going to be some sort of twist, but there wasn't. And so never these people are never to be heard from again. We won't know if they found their way back to each other or if they punished him by marrying him off to someone. We know nothing about these people. So then we switch over to Din and family. Din, Bo-Katan, and the baby, Grogu. And so they are flying to, I think it was Palisades 5. And they went because that's where Axe Wolves and the rest of the Night Owls were. Now, how she found them, I do not know. Maybe there was some sort of signature that they followed based on the contracts they took. I don't know. But, so they go to this planet and they have no choice but to go to visit the Duke and Duchess of the planet, the royal family of the planet. And I was very confused at first as to why they didn't, and actually I'm still confused, if Axe Wolves and his Night Owls are outside the city limit protecting the city, then number one, what the hell are they doing taking these mercenary contracts? And number two, why I couldn't figure out why then that they weren't allowed into the city. Because I guess because they were labeled a standing army is how I understood it. That because they were labeled a standing army and Bo and Din are not a part of that army, that they could come in, but the night owls couldn't. But anyway, so, and I'm looking at both of them, and I'm like, they look familiar, they look familiar, they look familiar. So I actually watched the end credits, and it's Jack Black and Lizzo. So they were fun. And I really thought there was going to be a twist with the Duke, though. I really thought that he was going to turn out to be an even worse guy, but so he so they have this feast, and everything seems to be going great. And then and Bo-Katan is getting annoyed. She's like, I just want to see, Axe Wolves. I want to see these mercenaries. I want to see these protectors. And so they're like, let's go for a walk. As the Duchess is playing with Grogu. And poor Din, he was like trying to mention how Grogu doesn't like strangers, and Grogu just happily goes to her, and Din's like, ugh, kid. And it's like he's a baby. What do you expect from him? Someone wants to play with him. Of course he's gonna want to go to her. So, and besides, Dad's right there. If something goes haywire, Dad will protect you. So, they go off and they explain about these droids that were reprogrammed, and the Duke was being very forceful, saying, they were reprogrammed, I swear, I did it myself. So this is why I thought there was something off with him. And, so they talked to them about the battle droids going haywire. The former battle droids going haywire. And, so they are tasked with taking care of the battle droids. And I was like, I'm game if you are, Denning, because you had me at battle droids. Because we know he hates droids with a passion. So he was probably thinking that, oh goody, I get to have a shooting gallery of battle droids. So he's thrilled. So they go off, and obviously they leave Grogu with the Duchess, which surprises me because Din himself wants Grogu to become an apprentice, not just a foundling. And you would think that he would take Grogu with him, especially since, well, Grogu kind of saved his life a couple times. So, I was surprised that the baby stayed with the Duchess. Now, it's entirely possible that they did it because Grogu didn't want to leave. It's possible he wanted to stay and be fed and play with the Duchess. Or maybe they just, trusted that they'll take good care of the baby, since they offered to recognize Mandalore if this was done. So they go off, and to figure out what's happening. So they first go to the security chief, and he explains what's happening with the security, with the battle droids going haywire. And so he's explaining and why he cannot shut them down, because this planet is so accustomed to using these droids that they could not work on their own, because they're used to just, being leisurely, walking leisurely around all day, just being ladies and laddies of leisure. They wouldn't know how to work. So, and that's our first celebrity cameo of this episode, which is Christopher Lloyd. Now, I was watching some Star Wars videos where they thought, oh, Christopher Lloyd is probably going to play Bo-Katan's father, either in flashbacks or it's going to turn out he's not dead, blah, blah, blah. No, he's just a random character. So he tells them that the people who actually program the droids are Ugnaughts. And so they go down to see them, and they totally are ignoring Bo-Katan. And now you're seeing the huge difference between Din and Bo-Katan. Bo-Katan isn't used to coming across all these different species, whereas Din, who is a mercenary, he was a bounty hunter. He's familiar with these different species, so he knew how to talk to them and got them to give him the list of droids that were tampered with. And so they go to the loading docks, and Din was having way too much fun harassing the droids, because he's like, if what you say is true, this shouldn't bother them. And so he starts beating the crap out of droids, basically. And I'm just like, this is not going to end well. Now, on the one hand, when the foreman said, you shouldn't have done that to them, on the one hand, you're like, well, maybe he knows that there were droids that were malfunctioning, or maybe he just simply thinks that you should treat droids like a decent human being, as opposed to beating them up just simply because they're droids. So they have a fight. They have a battle with the renegade battle droid, and they finally kill it and discover that there's a droid bar, the resistor. So they go to this droid bar, and Bo-Katan is trying to be nice. Din, not so much. So they unintentionally did a good cop, bad cop routine. And Bo is like, chill. I know you don't like droids, but come on. We need these people. Let's not assume that every droid we see is bad. And so that probably triggered something in the bartender, because the bartender explained what was happening. How they're afraid of being replaced by people, which is a fun retelling of the argument that we're having in the real world about robots replacing humans. But so he explains that there's this one type of fuel, I guess, that all the droids have in common. So I thought, okay, so maybe it's a bad batch of whatever it was that they were drinking. And whatever fuel they were given. And I wasn't completely wrong, but it wasn't the bartender's fault. It's not like he served them something that was contaminated. That was part of the thing. So they go to the morgue, which I found fun that they had a morgue for droids. And they were looking to see what was causing this. And so they were able to deduce that these were nanodroids, and there's a message written on them. And it turns out it was that these droids were brought in through security, which is illegal. And Din said the famous last words, which ranks up there with, what could go wrong. He asked if the nano droids are still operational. And so the droid that was scanning the deceased droid starts going crazy and attacks them. And Bo's like, yeah, they're still active. So they find out that the person who was doing this was the security chief. And so they go to see the security chief, and the security chief threatens that he's going to push that button, which is going to, now, before he said that it was just going to kill them, disable them. Whereas now he's saying that all the droids would return back to their original programming, which is as battle droids, if he flipped that switch. So it makes you wonder, does that red ball do anything? Has he been using that as an excuse to get his way, and it's just a hollow threat? But while he's going into his speech about Count Dooku, which we all know, not a good person to look up to, even though he claims he's not an Imperial and not a New Republic guy. He's a separatist, even though he doesn't like the term. And but he is right. From what I could see of the New Republic, they're not exactly democratic either. So I do get that. But Count Dooku, really? So while he's going into his speech about, democracy and Count Dooku and all that, he basically gets tased by Bo-Katan. And so they walk him back to the Duke and Duchess, and he's looking miserable. And the Duchess looks like she's about to be sick because, this guy that's been with her family forever is now under arrest for trying to undermine their society. And he was saying how things were so much better and different before he came. And the Duchess like, but he's the love of my life. And I wanted to scream, you're a Duchess. It's your blood that's noble. You don't have to do everything he says. What is going on? I really, really... And he made it sound like what a horrible person the Duke is. So I was really waiting for there to be some sort of a reveal as to what kind of a horrible person he is, or what did he do that's so horrible. But nothing. That was just dropped because the Duchess loves this guy. Which is a nice bookend to the beginning of the episode, where these two people who loved each other, claimed to love each other, were broken apart because the way the captain was speaking and then saying, oh no, I misspoke. No, I think she meant things like a childish fling. I think she actually meant that. I think that's why she was not fighting for him. She just was happy to get rid of him. I really do. So this was a nice bookend, but at the same time, these two stayed together. But I really, really thought that there was going to be a reveal that the Duke is not who he claims to be. So, and that he's a horrible person and that he also would get arrested, but that's not what happened. And that's how this episode ended. Oh, wait, that's how that part of the episode ended. So then she finally gets to look at and find Axe Wolves. Okay, great. So what are you going to tell him when you get there? Well, guess I'll know when I get there. I honestly thought she was going to make the announcement that she has actually seen a mythosaur. A real life mythosaur. But no, she did not. Oh, and before we continue, I just loved it how Grogu was using the Force to make sure that the Duchess always won her game. I figured he was going to do it, but I didn't expect that she was going to have no idea. They're really making these two out to be, nice-hearted people, but neither one of them are that bright, it seemed like. It gave me an Alice in Wonderland feel, those two. But anyway, so we go to the Night Owls, and Bo-Katan says she wants her fleet back, and X rightly points out that, nah, this is my fleet now. You didn't come back with the Darksaber. So Din doesn't say shit. Considering what ends up happening, he didn't say shit when they pointed out the Darksaber. So she challenges him to a duel, which, that was a fun duel. That was a lot of fun. The way Grogu was watching this, I was honestly expecting him to try to interfere. I really was expecting him to interfere, but he's obviously grown since he tried to force choke Cara Dune. That it was, he now knows that, okay, that's their thing. Don't get involved. Nobody's going to die. So, she defeats Axe, and he again mentions that the symbol of our people is the Darksaber. And I'm, again, waiting for her to mention, yeah, I have a better symbol, the Mythosaur, and I kind of saw one. No, she didn't do that. But Din finally spoke up, and what I thought was going to happen, happened. I figured that because Din Djarin was defeated by that creature in the mines, and so he won the saber, and Bo defeated the creature, so the Darksaber is rightfully hers. So I figured that right then and there. You can go back and watch I think it's episode 2. I think The Mines of Mandalore was episode 2. Episode 2 or 3. And see that I made that prediction. Because, I mean, it made sense that she would have won the saber because she defeated the enemy that defeated Din, even though there wasn't any formal passing of the Darksaber. So they all agreed that yes, because he's telling people this, and because he wants to give Bo-Katan the saber, and she's like, it's not a gift to be given. So she didn't even realize what she did. And he's like, it's not a gift. And he explains it to everybody. And Axe agrees that, yeah, actually, that would work. So he gives Bo the Darksaber. And so she has this triumphant moment of unsheathing the Darksaber. But I'm still upset that they didn't say anything about the Mythosaur, because that should be even more of a symbol I mean, they wear it on their freaking signets. But anyway, so that question has been answered. I was right. She is the rightful owner of the Darksaber. I saw people commenting that no, that there's some sort of reason why she doesn't actually own it because I guess the spider droid didn't actually intend to take the Darksaber or something. Anyway, so that's how it ends with Bo holding the Darksaber. So I really wonder, we have the Mandalorians that we have met before, but how that's going to work with her tracking down other Mandalorians, specifically the Mandalorians that helped Moff Gideon escape. Now, I've heard some people say that it's a misdirect, but I still think it's bad Mandalorians. I mean, there's all sorts of Mandalorians. So this is episode 6. I don't know how many episodes there are in this season, so I don't know how many are left. I thought I heard that there's only 6 episodes. I don't know. But anyway, that is all I have for this episode. With I guess next episode is gonna be them meeting up with the Mandalorians of the Armorers Guild. I don't know. They have to meet up with them and, if not, give out hugs or anything, at least start planning their attack on Mandalore, or they're going to recruit more Mandalorians. I do not know. But they also have to deal with Moff Gideon. But with that, I believe I've covered this episode, and I will see you guys next time.